All right, let's talk some Eagles. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. Chase Sr. here with you. And coming up on today's show, 5 surprise cut candidates for Philadelphia who the Eagles could part ways with following the 2025 NFL Draft. Which players could Howie Roseman wave goodbye to? You see what I did there? Yeah, we like to inject some humor here on Eagles Now. All right, let's hop right in. Cut candidate number 1, tight end Dallas Goedert. He is still on this roster. That surprises a lot of people following the NFL draft because Philadelphia did not draft a tight end, but there is still a chance that the Eagles could cut Goedert so that he could go to another team, so that he could sign a contract extension with that squad because no team yet has shown enough interest to trade for one of the top all-around tight ends in the National Football League. And while the Eagles did not draft a player at that position, what did they do in free agency? Signed Harrison Bryant. He can be used as a red zone target and in short yardage. Really tall, good catch radius. Kylen Granson is a Trey Burton type of build at that tight end spot. Little bit shorter, but dynamic athlete who's a really good blocker. Grant Calcaterra filled in very nicely for Goedert last year when he missed some time due to injuries, as that continues to be a problem for the 30-year-old tight end. And Philadelphia, what they've said this offseason, it's been of note. Jeffrey Lurie, Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman at times, basically talking about Goedert as if he's no longer on the team, putting him in a sentence with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Nick Sirianni saying something along the lines of, that's part of the business of the NFL. Even after the NFL draft, Howie Roseman saying Goedert is on the team right now. A big reason why the Eagles might move on, 30 years old, injured a lot, has a cap hit this upcoming season of $11.8 million. Goedert, of course, looking for a contract extension. He's due about $15.5 million in cash this year. And with that being the final year of his deal, no guaranteed money left, and he's been a highly productive player when he's been able to stay healthy. You can see from Goedert's standpoint, him and his agent, they're looking for that contract extension. The Goedert cap implications here, if the Eagles were to cut him pre-June 1, it would not be good as far as the hit on the salary cap. $21.3 million in dead money, $9.5 million in cap savings. If he were to be a post-June 1 cut, $7.7 million in dead money, only $4 million in cap savings. But sometimes the Eagles, and this has been a staple with how they run their organization, led by Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, they worry more about cash than the cap. So they could just decide to eat that dead cap number, knowing that they're going to free up money for the future, and that's how they go about it. Now, there's plenty of good with Goedert. I think he's still one of the top tight ends in football. I'd love to see the Eagles find a way to bring him back. Such a gifted pass catcher, lethal in picking up yards after the catch, valuable as a blocker in the pass and run game. He's also been a great playoff performer. Number 2 in franchise history behind Devontae Smith in playoff receiving yards. But he has missed 15 games the last 3 years. And when you are a top 5 highest paid tight end, that is a problem, especially as he's getting a little bit older. Drafted in 2018, 30 years old. And that cap hit number, the Eagles would love to lower that if they do bring him back. In parting ways with Goedert, I think it would hurt this offense. I think that he has basically been the wide receiver 3 in the pass game for Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni and company, behind A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I love him as a player. I love him in the locker room. I think he's really dynamic. I think that you can certainly get by at a much cheaper price tag with Grant Calcaterra, Harrison Bryant, Kylen Granson. E.J. Jenkins was pretty good in the preseason last year and in training camp. Some people are high on Cam Latu, a former third-round pick of the Niners, but frankly, I think he stinks. But with Calcaterra, Bryant, and Granson, that's not an awful tight end room, but it is unfortunate that the Eagles weren't able to draft the tight end in the draft. The board just didn't fall their way. Cut candidate number 2. This could be a surprise to some people, and that's why this video is labeled Surprise Cut Candidates. Bryce Huff. So he got $34 million in guaranteed money last free agency cycle, but No more guaranteed money coming up after this year. And I think the Eagles' actions have spoken pretty loudly pertaining to Huff, going all the way back to after them signing Bryce Huff. He wasn't with the first-string defense in training camp, played deep into these preseason games, and then to start the year, his playing time, his snap counts were very spotty. Then he got hurt. When he came back, he didn't play awful, but he didn't play a lot. And then in the playoffs, he was an afterthought. And then he was a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl because the Eagles really liked Jalek's son. And, of course, BG was able to come back for Super Bowl 59 as well. But then in free agency, the Eagles let Josh Sweat go. And along the defensive line, Milton Williams, like Sweat, he gets a bag in free agency. Then the Eagles signed Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche, two players who were still young. Ojulari is 24, Uche is 26. They drafted a couple of members along that defensive line, and I thought that how they approached the draft was also pretty telling pertaining to Bryce Huff. So if he were to come back to this Eagles team, you're wondering what type of role he would have. Antoine Powell-Ryland has been one of the more productive defensive ends in college football the last couple of years. Ty Robinson could play defensive tackle or defensive end in Vic Fangio's 3-4 scheme. And then they draft Jahad Campbell in the first round as well. And he could be used as an edge rusher and an off-ball linebacker. And, of course, rightfully so, the Eagles are high as an organization on Nolan Smith and Jalek Hunt. This might just be a Howie Roseman signing that you can chalk up as a failure. And Vic Fangio never seemed to be a fan of Bryce Huff's. Another option here on this roster is that you could keep him on this team, not cut him, and then you wait to see if there's another team, training camp, preseason, going into the regular season, that is really looking and desperate for a defensive end. And Bryce Huff is a player with a lot of pass rush potential. I mean, 2 years ago in 2023, while with the New York Jets, double-digit sacks, and his pressure numbers were absolutely fantastic under Robert Saleh when he was a defensive coordinator. Now, last year, he didn't play all that much. Pass rush snaps only 182. That's not what you're looking for a player who you gave $34 million in guaranteed money to, but you could show this to another team. Hey, he just wasn't a scheme fit for us. Overall PFF grade, 68.3. Pass rush grade, 68.2. Run defense grade, 60.2. That's supposed to be his weakness, and he still wasn't awful in run defense. And you also think about just being misused in the scheme. Robert Saleh runs a 4-3, runs the wide 9. Vic Fangio doesn't do that. And clearly, Bryce Huff was never able to feel comfortable. Vic Fangio was never comfortable with putting him on the field. And I think that even if you let Bryce Huff go, you could still get by. And you still have a very intriguing young defensive line full of young pass rushers with a lot of potential. Now, if the Eagles were to cut Bryce Huff post-June 1, $19.7 million in dead money, 12.3 as far as the cap savings. If they cut him pre-June 1, $28 million in dead money for 2025, $21 million in cap savings. So you're eating a lot of cash, but do you want to eat that cash knowing that you're going to give other players playing time so that they can produce? Quick reminder, and I'm sorry to interrupt this video, but be sure to hit that subscribe button here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. If you want daily Eagle shows from yours truly right here on the channel, lock us in, hit that sub button. And as you can see, we're 100 people away from 120,000 subscribers. Can we reach that milestone with this video? If you like what you've seen so far, this is what we bring you every single day. Our sponsor for today's Philadelphia Eagles Now, our wonderful friends at Brunt. They sent me these work boots. I absolutely love them. And when I'm in the wood shop, because that is one of my hobbies, I'm always wearing my Brunt boots because they're comfortable and they're durable. And sometimes with work boots, you can't always find that. So you can get $10 off, by the way, if you go to bruntworkwear.com/chat, and you can see some of those products for yourself. And choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. If they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Well, Brunt Workwear finally ended that trade-off, designing boots that withstand the toughest job sites while feeling as comfortable as your favorite sneakers. Founder Eric Girard grew up blue-collar. He started Brunt after his friends in the trade encouraged him to start a workwear brand that was really built for them. That's why all Brunt products are named after the guys who you grew up with. Cool story there. These might be the most comfortable work boots on the planet. I'm telling you that right now. But they also deliver real performance on the job, whether you need waterproof, safety toe, soft toe, pull on, lace up. I personally like the lace up because more security around my feet and ankles. They've got you covered regardless. They're so confident in these boots that they will blow you away. And they will even let you try these boots on the job risk-free. So for a limited time only, our listeners, our viewers, our real ones here on Eagles Now, get $10 off at Brunt by using our code CHAT at bruntworkwear.com/chat. And after you do buy them, do us a favor. When they ask you where you heard about Brunt, tell them that Eagles Now, Chat Sports, and Chase Sr. sent you. Not just a durable work boot, they reinvented comfort for the hardest workers out there. So again, get $10 off, couple of different styles. I have the Marin boots here. I absolutely love them. Give your feet a breather with Brunt today. We'll put that link down below in the comment section, attached to the pinned comment, and in the show notes of today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. We push forward on today's show like we're on a 2-minute drill. Cut candidate number 3, quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson. The Eagles brought in DTR in a pre-draft visit when he was coming out of college at UCLA. I really liked the player and the prospect he was coming out of UCLA, and I thought that him as a draft pick for Philadelphia that year would have made sense. Developmental player, put him into this quarterback factory, good scheme fit because he has a similar skill set to Jalen Hurts, and see what he can become. Unfortunately for him, his NFL career hasn't worked out. But look, he's been playing for the Cleveland Browns, one of the worst organizations in the sport. And a reason why DTR could get cut, even though the Eagles traded Kenny Pickett for him and got a 5th-round pick, is because the Eagles added to the quarterback factory in this year's draft by drafting Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. One of my favorite under-the-radar quarterbacks in this draft class. I think he processes pre-snap very well, knows where to go with the football because he's a smart player. He anticipates well, has really good arm strength to push the ball downfield, but he can complete passes from sideline to sideline. He's not mobile in a sense where he's going to stun you with his speed, but he does have good pocket feel and pocket movement where he can step up in the pocket, create some time to push that ball downfield. I love his toughness, really like his size, 6'3", 218 pounds. A winner at Ohio State and Syracuse. 22-4 win-loss record. What has Jalen Hurts done since being the Eagles starting quarterback? Won, and he's won a lot. He's been to 2 NFC championship games, and he's won both. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, should have won both, won a Super Bowl MVP, and in 2 of the last 3 years, Jalen Hurts has won 14 games. Winning matters at the quarterback position, and winning is a quarterback stat. Some people will say winning isn't a quarterback stat. We literally judge quarterbacks on winning Super Bowls. That's why Tom Brady and Joe Montana are the 2 greatest quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League. And last year, I thought Kyle McCord really found his confidence as we flipped the page to his entire stat sheet here. He led the country in passing yards, one of the most efficient and accurate quarterbacks in college football, 37 total touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 0 fumbles, and he put up better numbers throwing for 37 touchdowns, nearly 5,000 yards with lesser competition as compared to him being surrounded and littered on an Ohio State team with a bunch of future pros. So this is a developmental player who I think the Eagles are very high on. There was that video that came out over the weekend going into day 3 when Howie was talking about this is the day where you can really build up your football team, getting some quality players. This is the day that I actually really look forward to. He went across to all of his scouts. He wanted them to name prospects who the Eagles were going to target on day 3. And Dave Caldwell, former Jaguars general manager, mentioned Kyle McCord. Another scout said this was the most accurate quarterback in college football last year in this draft class, former 5-star recruit. Let's put him into this quarterback factory. And I think that over time, Kyle McCord, like Tanner McKee, can really benefit from being in this organization because they develop quarterbacks really, really well. And for DTR, that is important to note. Again, I like the player. This isn't knocking him. But when you take a player like McCord, who you think has a lot of upside, you're not going to hold on to 4 quarterbacks on the 53. And maybe you can get DTR or McCord on the practice squad, but I highly doubt it, considering the importance of the position. I want to see what DTR can do with the Eagles because he was put in really difficult spots to succeed while with the Cleveland Browns. Cut candidate number 4 is offensive guard Kenyon Green, who the Eagles acquired in that C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, which I continue to hate it. But a lot of you might say, Chase, why would the Eagles cut Kenyon Green? We got him back for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Well, the Eagles got a 2026 fifth-round pick. And a cut of Kenyon Green would cost them $1.3 million. A la, not a lot of money. And so the Eagles here, my thought, they have a deep offensive line. And then they drafted 3 more offensive linemen. And Kenyon Green has been one of the worst guards in football since being a first-round pick coming out of Texas A&M not long ago. But if the reality is that he sucks and can't even develop under Jeff Stoutland, there's no point in keeping him because I'm intrigued by some of the young offensive linemen on this Eagles 90-man roster. Shoot, I'm intrigued by this rookie minicamp offensive line. And I put out on Twitter today, call me a sicko, but I like this minicamp offensive line. There are some players here who I think other teams across the National Football League would really like to have. Myles Hinton sometimes plays soft and smaller than his size, but he has NFL bloodlines. Pops played in the league, brother played in the league, accomplished player at Stanford and Michigan. I want to see what Jeff Stoutland can do with Myles Hinton. Jeff Stoutland's very excited about Myles Hinton. Laken Vakalahi is a former Australian rugby player who's moved inside to left guard, and the athleticism is certainly there. And because he's part of the International Pathway Program, he doesn't count against the 90-man. Drew Kendall is a center who has a bunch of experience playing center at Boston College. He was an all-conference player, and he's very athletic, ran just over a 5-second 40-yard dash. Holland Pierce at Rutgers got better every year, especially as a run blocker. He has a massive wingspan, massive size. Stoutland can develop him. And then Cameron Williams. Eagles get him in the 6th round. I think he could end up being one of the steals of this draft, a mountain of a man who's going to need to control and monitor his weight. But if he returned to Texas and played well, he could have been a first-round pick in 2026. And here's the reality with Kenyon Green. Sometimes a player just isn't good. And maybe he was just simply overdrafted by Houston a couple of years ago. These numbers are dreadful. And sometimes even Jeff Stoutland can't turn around a player like this. Overall PFF grade last year of 38.6. 132nd among 136 interior offensive linemen. One of the worst guards in all of football. Pass blocking grade, 39.7. That ranked 107. Run blocking grade, 44.6. 132 among 136. He gave up 28 pressures. That ranked 110th. And all of those snaps coming at left guard, 582. Had a lot of opportunities to prove, I'm not a bust, Houston. I'm not a bust, Houston. He was so much of a bust that Houston included him in that trade a couple of years removed after taking him in the 1st round, top 15 pick. And then cut candidate number 5 is a former 5th-round pick 2 drafts ago by Philadelphia, wide receiver Ainias Smith. Never loved the selection of him coming out of Texas A&M. I know Nick Sirianni had said that he was keeping his eyes on Smith for a couple of years. Really dynamic return man. Here's my issue, though. When I watch him, I don't see special. And once he came back off that injury last year to his foot or ankle, he was primarily used as a motion man once he came back. And I know that Tanner McKee threw that touchdown to him, and it was good for him to get that touchdown as a rookie. But in preseason and in training camp, he looked a little bit slow. And that is a problem when in the pre-draft process you measure in at just 5'9". And so, yes, he's strong, put up 21 reps at 225. That's impressive when he only measured in and weighed in at 180 pounds. But when you're 5'8", 180, I need to see better than a 4.55 40-yard dash. And sometimes the 40-yard dash doesn't mean all that much. Sometimes you have that short area quickness. You have some of that explosion, which you don't see measured by a 40-yard dash. And you see it with when they play. The thing with Ainias Smith is, I didn't see it when he played. If you enjoyed today's show, Eagles Now family, give me a real one down in the comment section. We always appreciate your support. We always appreciate you tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe.